it was just, it happened at a perfect time for me. Someone asked for him to, sorry.
It's okay.
I'll shut up.
Okay, so my name is Michelle Lozano, and I have been on a biochemical nutritional program since I was 24. The reason being that I started going to Dr. Dulin, who's my orthomolecular biochemist, is due to the fact that I had severe anxiety. If you look at the book, and I have little copies for you guys, even though you may have one.
Thank you.
Thanks, little copy.
Thank you.
I
So
really
if
did.
you,
You can't read that. I never got it.
I have those here. If you look at the book is, it took a little while for us to decide what we wanted to title it, and we ended up titling it Methylation Madness because methylation really is madness. When you're in the thick of anxiety and you're in the thick of just not feeling well, it's maddening. When you don't know what's wrong with you, it's worse. So Doc came up with the title, and then we brought in the insight to biochemical and personal lives of hypermethylators because I ended up interviewing 4 people who were hypermethylators, 3 of which I'm dear friends with now. So, and that was the first time, I'll get into that, actually interviewing these 4 people was truly the first time that I connected to anybody with my issue. And it was amazing. And that's what Doc said. He said, you know, I want you to talk to these people. I want you to interview them for the book. But I want you to understand how similar hypermethylation is with other people. So I was like, okay, you know, it's been like, well, I guess 25 years since, you know, I was doing this program, and I still never spoke to anybody who had my issue. I spoke to a lot of people about anxiety and things like that, but the symptoms that I had were so odd. You know, I had anxiety, I had panic, those were, and OCD. Those were my 3 big ones. But then I had other symptoms that I didn't even realize were symptoms. I just thought it was me. Somebody knocking on the door. Oh, okay.
No, it's just me calling me.
And some of them were, I had headaches, I had blurred vision, I was hyperventilating all the time, which is part of anxiety. I was crying out of the clear blue sky for no reason. I could be sitting and watching a basketball game, you know, with one of my friends, which is in the book, and I just start crying for no reason. And then I would get really, really bad body pain. So of course I went to a doctor, and they said, you probably have fibromyalgia, because fibromyalgia is like massive body pain. So it would get to the point that I would just sit like this all the time, rubbing my hands. It was mostly my hands, sometimes my knees, but it was just like, oh, and it was like a joint. It was just like in the joint. I'm like, whoa, it would just kill. And I'd be exhausted. Then I would be
wired. My daughter would have come. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
She can hear you.
Then I would just be so depleted of energy, and then 2 seconds later, like, bing, up again. I also had a very hot temper. I mean, it took me like 0 to 2 seconds, and I would be like, ugh. And all of that, I just thought was part of my anxiety issue. But being that I had finally found Dr. Dulin, he did all kinds of blood tests on me, and back then he didn't even do genetics. It was just, I mean, my first thing of blood tests were, it had to be 20 pages long. He ran insane blood tests because he needed to get as much as possible, but now that he's got the genetics, he just does a CBC, and, you know, he'll do all kinds of other things. Oh, plus I had a lot of hormonal issues. I had severe cramping when I would get my period, like just debilitating. And then my stomach on a regular basis was terrible. I would have the runs one minute and then I would just be bowled over in pain. Then I had burning in my stomach. It was crazy. So I was diagnosed with IBS. I was diagnosed with a spastic colon. I had every diagnosis under the planet, and I'm drinking my Lanta, and I'm eating. My mother always made fresh vegetables. She always made really good food. She even made us eat liver at one point, which was disgusting. But she was very much into, I'm gonna feed my family well, and she truly did. I mean, ice cream was the only junk food in the house, ever, and I just kept getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. So the methylation madness was a perfect title. So if you look at the eyes, my friend Carol actually drew this, she drew our cover. So if you look at the eyes and then you look at me, those are my eyes. That's me. Carol drew my face. And we had her green up the eyes because green represents sulfur. And if you look at my eyes on certain days, I don't even know, sometimes they're a little bit greener, sometimes they're a little bit browner, but the outsides, the whites of my eyes I put eye drops in, but they are not as clear as a normal, quote unquote, normal person, because methylation people do have typically high histamine levels, and my eyes red up often, especially when my methylation is cycling. And then we put the biochemistry. Doc drew all the biochemistry coming out, the methylation biochemistry, and then to add a really personal part, my third eye chakra, my ajna chakra. That's my life revolves around meditation and biochemistry on my non-teaching time. So that's the story of the title and of the way we decided to draw the book, because having that biochemistry coming out of my third eye truly shows who I am inside and out. I have my meditation, then I have my biochemistry. And then you can see that there's a lot of orange in the book, and then there's a lot of green. So the green, like I said, is like my eyes. The green represents the sulfur, and the orange represents meditation.
What's sulfur?
Oh, what is sulfur? So sulfur, there are two things. There's sulfur and methionine, okay? So sulfur is in certain foods, such as
Eggs.
yeah, but that's a low sulfur, more like rice,
Okay.
peppers. Those are more sulfur foods. And then you've got your methionine foods, which are fish, high fish. Should have brought a list with me, but I know I'm just talking.
So do you want sulfur or you don't want sulfur?
No methylation people want sulfur.
Okay, because my
At
daughter's got an allergy to sulfur too.
That's different.
Oh.
An allergy to sulfur is different from a methylation.
Sulfur.
You could have both. I just met somebody the other day who has an allergy to sulfur and is a hypermethylator. So that's a double whammy. She got nailed with both gifts. Plus she has 6 MTHFR genes. Now this is the issue that happens that I've seen since I've been since I published the book and I put it out there on the internet. And then I talk to people like you. People think that MTHFR is the only thing.
Right.
And they think that there's one MTHFR gene. Okay, so how am I going to read this book?
Yeah.
So here is a piece of the methylation pathway. That's a piece of the chemistry. This is Dr. Dulin's. And I'm not really going to go through that because as much as I know, I would never really talk about it the way he could, because he's a whole nother.
He is brilliant.
Did you see the video I just put up? That was a book talk with Doc.
No, yeah. Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, I put a link on Facebook and Instagram.
I'll have to look.
So
for
it's
it.
like an hour and 38 minutes
Oh yeah, I'll have
of
to look.
him and
for
I,
it.
and then he goes into great detail about genetics, like gigantic. So, but yeah, you'll see that it's just a total cycle around and around and around, and that's what methylation is. And you'll see, you know, you have your MTRR gene, you have your MTHFR gene, you have SAMe, you have COMT, you've got all of these genes that have to do with methylation.
So when he did my blood, does he check all that, or do I have to get my genetic testing to get that information?
So what he does is he can't get genetics, you know, he can't get this, but from blood tests. But
Right.
what he can do is, with the blood tests, is he's able to, he can read between the lines instead of, you know, like a doctor will say, okay, well, you have that, so you could get medicated for that because that's what's that. What he's doing is he'll say, okay, well, you have this out of whack, and you have this out of whack, very medical terms, and then he'll put it all together and he'll say, well, this is caused by this being off, but this is caused by that. He sees chemistry in his head. You ever see Beautiful Mind? That's how,
I can understand what. Yeah.
yeah,
what you're
that's
saying.
that's how he sees chemistry. Like he literally sees it moving in his head.
Okay, like if you go to a lot of these genetic sites and
Mm.
you want to, you know, spit or blood, whatever, however they do it, I don't know. They'll come back with a whole sheet full of all of the things, and then you have to upload it or to another site so that they could make sense out of it. And what I want to know is, when I had my blood drawn, say my initial time, did he go through all of the methylation problems I would have, or see, I want to have genetic testing done.
Genominal.
Genominal
Yeah.
testing, is that what you're saying?
Genominal is the best. According, I mean, I'm not gonna knock other genetic testing.
Well, he'll
but
do that genominal. He'll do
you
that?
do genominal and send it to him.
Oh.
And genominal has thousands of
Do
genes.
they sell your information? A
I
lot of these
believe so. I know a lot of them, like,
places do
yeah,
that.
I know some
That's
of
why
them
they'll
do.
it.
But I have actually never even had a genominal done. My daughter has had it done. I've had, I don't even remember the one I had, it was so long ago.
Okay.
Keeps telling me to get it done, but I keep but he knows my genetics so well at this point. He's read every last little centimeter of this
Of you.
disaster, this disaster of genes and biochemistry. But so when he does get a blood test, he will rip apart that blood test and he will put you on your program, which is what he did. When he gets the genetics helps him make an even more specific program to your body. The other thing that happens is people think that genes can be cleaned up. Genes can't be cleaned up. Genes can't be changed. You are born with what you were born with, and that's that. What he does is he takes the genetics and he says, okay, so you're MTHFR, I'm an MTHFR, COMT, CBS, phase 1, phase 2 methylator, I'm a disaster. And he'll take all of my genes and then he'll look at my chemistry, and the chemistry is caused by the bad genetics. So he'll look at all the genetics and then he'll look at all the blood tests and he'll say, okay, well, this gene is causing that, and that's causing this, and this is causing that. And that's how he gets such a specific and complete book on you and understanding of you. So this is just the orange are vitamin compounds, the red are the gene SNPs, and the greens are the amino acids in this diagram. So I have the issue of not being able to detox in 2 ways, and I cannot explain in detail even after 30 years, but I have an issue detoxing twice. I'm a phase 1, phase 2 methylator, which means I've got 2 separate issues going on. So moving forward, when I was in, did I tell you I was in liver failure? I don't remember if I told you.
I read it in the book.
Okay, so,
Why did that happen?
Yeah.
Sorry.
so, I guess it's like 10 years ago now, I had a urinary tract infection. And what happened was, I went to the gyno, and actually he just said to me the other day after our book talk, I'm like, that's not what happened. And he's like, yes, it is. I've lost a lot of memory because my body literally was dying. So I was like, oh, okay. I went to my gyno, and she put me on some whatever medication.
Sulfur.
So that didn't work. And then I went to a, what the heck? I went to just an internist, my internist. And it so happened that he was telling me that I had, so he put me on one medication. That was okay. I go through my medication. I go through doc for my medication, Dr.Dulin for my medications. Is this okay? Yes. Is that okay? Yes. So he said that was fine. And it was just like a plain antibiotic. And then that wasn't working. And then I went back, and the assistant was there, and she put me on macrobid. So I said, is this a sulfur? And she said, not a sulfur, or I don't even remember the story completely. But it turns out that it was not a sulfur. They were correct. It was not a sulfur, it was a methylator. Okay? So instead of just immediately saying, here's an antibiotic and it's filled with sulfur, that wasn't true. They said, here's an antibiotic, it's not filled with sulfur. But they didn't make the connection that a methylating antibiotic creates sulfur. So what eventually happened after 3 days was I was completely jaundiced, from tip to stern, completely jaundiced. And I had a rash on my back, it was on my stomach a bit, and I work out, I'm healthy, and I just was, and I'm very hyper, I have a lot of energy. I'm not like ADHD hyper, but I'm very, just grab my water. I have a lot of energy. So I turned out to just completely be devoid of any energy. So I called them up and I'm like, I'm not feeling good. I have a lot of medication sensitivities, and something's not right. So the doctor gave me a blood test, and he saw me. He's like, ruh-roh. And it turns out that he said, well, you've got Hep C. I'm like, Hep C? And then he told me that I have some other, well, if you don't have this, you might have this, I don't even, different names of diseases that I miraculously got within 3 days. So, I found myself in Rite Aid one night wearing a big Sherpa, jacket, and just standing there like this, just freezing, and the weight started going off, and I had no appetite, and I eat like a large man, like I got a big appetite. I couldn't eat, I had such bad heartburn, it was terrible, and I'm small frame to begin with, and I started losing so much weight, my hair started falling out, I'm like, alright. So I go to doc after 3 days, and I said, something's wrong with me, this is not right, and he keeps telling me that I have this disease, I have that disease, I have this disease, and he said, go to a liver specialist. So doc looks at my blood test, and he's like, you don't have any of this. He says, they're killing you from the medication. He says, you're toxic from the methylation, because what sulfur does with hypermethylators is it kind of builds up like a wall. And because we have issues excreting the sulfur, detoxing from the sulfur, that's what was happening. So I have a double issue and with the detox. So as normal people. I believe Doc told me once that normal people, again, quote unquote, normal people have, I think like a 40% detox or something like that, and I have on a good day 20. And then on this day with the methylation issue with the medication, I was like, it was just like, you know, it was like barely coming out of me. So he immediately put me on serine, and serine blocks the sulfur, and then he made up some other kind of cocktail of supplements and such. So this doctor, that the internist told me to go see a liver specialist. So I go to see this liver specialist, and because Dr. Dulin wanted me to go too, you know, he does what he does, and then, you know. So I go to this doctor, and now I mean, when I tell you I was yellow under my tongue, my eyes, if I did this, you can even tell now, just normally, like, under this light, I have a lot of, like, a more yellowish in my hands than whitish, and that's my sulfur. So I go to the internist, and he, not the internist, I go to the liver endocrinologist, and he did a history on me and all this stuff. And then he said that I said, well, possibly I have Chaber syndrome, which is a methylation issue. And because we were unsure if my grandmother had a methylation issue and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So he's like, you don't have this, you might have that, you do, and he was just, I really didn't care for his bedside manner. So he has me in the examination room, and he says, you need a liver biopsy. And now I'm hysterical crying, you know, saying I need a liver biopsy, oh my God. So I left there, and I told Dr. Dulin, he's like, no, you are not having a liver biopsy. Plus, a little bit before the liver failure, I had MRSA twice. So my body was just not well to begin with, because I had sulfur-free antibiotics, but I still am sensitive. So he's like, you're not doing that. Absolutely not. You do not need a liver biopsy. I'm telling you right now, it's your methylation, and we need to detox you out. Okay. So I told this doctor, I'm not going. He ends up calling me and yelling at me, literally, saying that I have to stop listening to this, whatever his terminology was, this quack who knows nothing, you know, and we need to do it. And I said, no. And then he wrote me a letter saying, you will die. I have the letter. He said, you will die if you don't do this. So now I'm standing at my front door, my house, you know, as time goes on, I'm withering away, feeling awful. I'm eating like that much of a bagel. And
How long were you sick?
altogether a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
From how long being on antibiotics?
3 days. 3 days. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Can I ask you what your antibiotic was?
macrobid.
You said that.
Macrobid. Yeah. It's the devil for me. So I had to decide, you know, what to do. Do I go with, you know, a doctor, or do I go with a biochemist? So I'm going back and forth, and I said, well, I've known this man for 25 years. He's gotten me through 8,000 different things. If anybody could cure somebody from the anxiety that I had, which was literally debilitating, I couldn't go on the beach because I was agoraphobic. I couldn't go in an elevator because I was claustrophobic. I was convinced that somebody was stalking me and living underneath my deck in my at my apartment. I was afraid to drive. I was afraid to be home by myself. I was afraid to be in big crowds. I was afraid to go to the supermarket. I was afraid to go to the movie theater. It was a disaster. So I ended up going with my gut, and I went with Dr. Dulin, and then I also found another liver specialist who was phenomenal, and she had a good understanding of chemistry. So she spoke a lot, often, with Dr. Dulin. During this time, I got to be very, very close with Dr. Dulin, even closer than I thought that I was at this point after 25 years, because every day he made me tell him what color my stool was. So, which is actually quite helpful now, because I'll know what's going on in my system. So at that time, in the beginning, my stool was black, like your jacket black with little specks of white, and then Doc was just like, oh boy. And he still didn't tell me, like he said oh boy to himself, but he never told me, he never ever told me how sick I was. He never told me that I was dying. I only found out that I was dying. I felt like I was dying, but he never told me I was dying, and neither did my endocrinologist. He only told me that I was dying, I would say, maybe 8 months later, because that was when I got my first good blood test. So my stool went from black and white, then it went to brown, then it went to this like hunter green, which is when it's hunter green or greenish, you are burning fat. So I'm burning so much fat. I looked like I was starving. Like I looked like I was starving. I was much more cut up than I was now, but you know, you would see a picture of me and I was emaciated. It was disgusting. I was so skinny. I looked like just terrible. My hair was just falling out in buckets because I have thyroid issue to begin with, so my thyroid just shut down. And then it went to very yellow. And the yellow, he was like, okay, now you're getting rid. Now you're starting to get rid of it. You're getting rid of it. So it was like literally every single day or whenever I would have to tell him that. And then he would, every week I'd come into the office and he'd look at my eyes. And then, so it was an unbelievable experience for me. I would go for blood tests every week. I became really close with the phlebotomist at that point, you know. And I was scared every day, every week to get these bloods back, you know. And I'm a teacher, so the nurse in the school, she was so sweet. She would read the tests and she would look, and what we were looking at is the bilirubin level. So bilirubin is a factor of methylation. It's kind of like a quick cheat, so to speak, to say like, well, kind of, are you a hypermethylator or are you a hypomethylator? So it's a kind of understanding. But like right now, I'm running a low bilirubin. Usually I run like a 0.8. Now I'm running about a 0.5, but I'm still a hypermethylator. And you know, the body changes. So, you know, a bilirubin level can't be exactly the telltale, but it does give a good generalization a lot of times. So when I was sick, my bilirubin peaked out at 18, and normal is, you know, between 0 and 1-ish, so to speak. When you run a high bilirubin, like one of the women in the book, she got to doc at 3.4, I think it was, which is like really high. So it was at 18, like not 0, it was 18. And my AST and ALT, which are my liver enzymes, they were, I think I peaked at 1900 on one and like 900 and something on the other. So I was in complete liver failure. And then my kidneys started going because my creatinine level was all over the place. My thyroid was going. The body pain that I had was just immense. To try to sit in a car, my hips were just, and my knees, it was like excruciating pain. And then my side hurt all the time because that's, you know, my liver. So they got me on, I took no medication. You know, I would take itch medication because once my liver doc got my liver to start detoxing, itching like I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. This itching was an itching that was internal, it was nonstop. When I tell you it was nonstop, it was constant. It was a constant. And it was torture. But I was getting better, so that was a good thing. And then my endocrinologist wanted my liver to detox faster. So she and doc discussed, and they put me on a prednisone. Being that I'm so sensitive to medication, he wasn't really happy about it, but you know, he was accepting it, and he felt it was safe for me. So they put me on prednisone. I think it was 30 milligrams. I believe so. Don't quote me on that. Read my book, you'll find out. I became a lunatic. I had more energy. Doc said to me, he goes, all right, when you get on this, I'm telling you, you're gonna wanna rewire your entire house. So I ended up knocking down 2 half walls in my house at 4 in the morning. I was crazy. So then I started turning brown, like the table brown. People would look at me, and that's one thing, as a special ed teacher, you know, you think about all these different disabilities, you know, and you know, you see people in a wheelchair and you kind of look, and you see this and kind of look. The looks that I got from this time made me truly appreciate that there are people who are looked at every day for their disability, because I was literally looked like a disability. I looked like something was really wrong with me. So as time went on, you know, finally they got my bilirubin down, and everything started coming back, and I wasn't allowed to do any exercise. I went to work throughout this thing, here and there. I don't even remember how many times I went. I truly don't. My assistant teacher basically took over, and my student teacher basically took over my classroom, because I had no energy. So I eventually got better, but it was all due to the methylating antibiotic. And the foods that I eat now are 99% non-sulfur, or very teeny tiny bits of sulfur. So I cannot eat any fish whatsoever. Doc just recently, maybe about a year ago, we had new bloods, and that's when my bilirubin went down a little bit, more than it normally is. And he says, okay, we could try fish. I'm like, yes, 20 years I haven't had a piece of fish. So I had fish, and I had about 4 ounces of calamari, and I ended up having a migraine for 4 days, and I was a disaster with anxiousness for 2 weeks. So he's like, well, that's that. I got extremely sensitive to, I got even more sensitive to foods, let's just put it that way. After the liver failure, I was able to cheat with garlic and onion. Now I can't even smell it. You know, those are high sulfur.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you have sushi is more of a sulfur than a methionine. Fish is methionine. So if you have sushi, there's only a tiny bit of fish, and it's mostly seaweed and rice, and those are sulfurs. So those aren't good for me either. I can't eat endive. I can't eat oranges because those are citrus. I can't eat any greens. Every blue moon I can have Swiss chard. He gave me Swiss chard like a year ago.
You can't eat greens?
I cannot eat any greens. So what I've done is I've altered a lot of different recipes, and my YouTube channel has tons of different recipes for hypermethylators. So you wanted to know a little bit about hypomethylation.
My husband did send me my thing.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask you too about, you were saying with the sulfur and the whole thing. What is dark circles under the
Dark
eyes?
circles show sulfur.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my girls, it looks like somebody smack them around. They're
Yeah.
something wrong. It looked like
I was talking to one of my students today, and I looked at him and I said, "Oh, you poor little sulfur kid. No
Yeah.
wonder you've got this kind of issue." Yeah.
I wish my daughter would come. She just would have benefited
Yeah.
so much from this.
But so hypomethylation, that is obviously the opposite of hypermethylation. Hypomethylation means that so hypermethylation is you produce a tremendous amount of adrenaline. So if you have sulfur, you're pouncing on your methylation cycle, the diagram I was just showing you, your pathway. And that's what I am. So I go with my adrenaline up, and then I'll go down, and then I'll go kind of like level, and I'll get tired, lethargic, body pain. I still get the body pains. I still have these symptoms, but far and few between. Let's put it that way.
You're managing it.
I manage it, and then my adrenaline will go up, and then it'll go down. So I would say every 3 months, 3 to 5 months, that's when your sulfur kind of cycles through. And during those times, I'm just going back to me a little bit, during those times, that's when I'll get a migraine. And I get 3 types of migraines. I get a sulfur migraine, an adrenaline migraine, and a histamine migraine. So it all depends on where my biochemistry is at one point, at that specific, where my methylation cycle is at that point. So I can't take medication, so, I have to figure out different supplements to stop my headaches. So I have a tremendous amount of adrenaline, which is that sulfur. So my daughter, in contrast, she's a hypomethylator. So my daughter has very similar symptoms to what I had. She's got very bad hormonal issues. She has stomach issues. She has bloating issues. She does not have headaches, thank God. Because I could take anything except the migraine.
I know, me too.
She has texture issues, she had anxiety, she has some OCD, but it's really presenting itself with Olivia in stomach and weight. So hypermethylators, obviously we produce a lot of adrenaline, trying to do. My best friend would say you could just look at a Stairmaster and you could lose weight and get muscle, Michelle. My daughter, on the other hand, when you're a hypomethylator, you are not producing adrenaline. She has a tanked bilirubin. She has,
He told me my adrenal glands were like,
yeah,
yes, I
she
got it.
she has the hardest time losing weight because she can't burn the fat. No matter how many walnuts she eats, no matter how much pork she eats, no matter how much dark chocolate she eats, which are all high tyrosines that get that adrenaline going, she can't do it. I mean, it does other stuff, tyrosine, but she can't lose weight. So he's had her on many different programs, and she would walk around with a stomach that literally looked like she was 3 months pregnant. And Livia's 4'9". She's Zoptic, my kid, very well endowed in the chest, and she's just thick, and strong as a bull, and very mellow. She's very, very mellow. We are polar opposite. I'm like, boo, 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 boo. And she's just like, yeah, okay. She does not have a hot temper at all. She's just very mellow. She's always tired. She has very bad body pain. So through the years, she's been able to have Doc, fix her. So now, her cramping for menstruation is not as bad as it was. Like every once in a while, it'll come and go. The bloating and the gas pain that she's had has mellowed, and her anxiety, he just changed some stuff around, so her anxiety is a lot better, and she's losing weight. She's also a bodybuilder, and she's been able to, lose weight because she's working like an animal. If I did the amount of work that she did at the gym, she'll work out a half hour doing cardio, and then she'll go back to the gym later and she'll do an hour and a half of lifting. I would be this big and but it's so slow for her because her methylation system is so jammed up, and our hormones are jammed up. So that is those pieces.
How do I know if I'm a hypomethylator? Can I tell by my vitamins that he's giving me?
Let me see. I mean, I can't tell you, but I could give you an idea.
Because I didn't ask him that question when I was on, because Judge was so full of information. I'm like,
Just
like
bring-
you didn't video this, did you?
Yeah.
Is that video?
Yeah.
Nobody sees you.
Can I, no, I don't care about me. I
Oh.
want to share this with my daughter who couldn't be here tonight.
Yeah, it'll be on my thing. It'll be on my YouTube. She's got to look at the one with the biochemistry part too. That's good. This is more of my personal.
I understand that,
You know.
but she just needs to hear someone else who's
Babbling,
like
L-glutamine.
standing right there.
And there's so
So
many
going
people
to-
thinking.
Okay, so he would never give me trimethylglycine because I would die.
That's to help detox,
that's-
isn't it?
It's for adrenaline, to boost your adrenaline. I don't think
That's
know
why my junior
exactly.
has- Okay.
Cantaloupe, dragon fruit, cassava, nectarines, grapes, persimmons, raisins, apricot, cranberry. I would say that you would be more of on the hypomethylation side with your food.
Okay.
Beets. He's boosting up your glutamine there. He's giving you glutamine. I'm just looking at your eyes
Oh yeah.
because you can tell by eyes. So you're also, I would imagine you're also a noradrenaline because your eyes tilt, but you're very round, which shows a glutamine person. You too. You have different shaped eyes. So
One has a, I forgot which island it was when I was a little, remember we used to have cameras that had the flash that you put on? I took it backward. When I was like 2 or 3, so I have a little surgery on one of them, so that's why
Yeah.
one eyelid is a little bit
Yeah.
lower than the other.
yeah, it's like
like
pointed out on camera. No.
Oh, that's fine, okay.
But like you could tell, my eyes are very on the more rounded side, and but I'm very cat-like on both sides. So that's just
Yeah, I don't get
Glutamine.
the cat eye.
and just total adrenaline junkie. So turkey, he has you on a lot of turkey, and turkey's tryptophan, and that just helps relax your body, relax your system. He's got you on a lot of pork, so he's trying to bring up because that's tyrosine, he's trying to bring up your neurotransmitters. He's trying to bring your, you get a little foggy sometimes, a little like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So when you eat the pork helps your neurotransmitters fire. So you're able to think better. So when you're a little foggy, eat pork.
Fun fact.
Yeah. And then he's got you on fish. So
I
that's
don't have a problem with sulfur then, if I'm on fish, right?
no.
Oh.
You have a problem with methylation,
Okay,
which has to do with sulfur.
I understand.
I have a problem with methylation, but I'm hyper. I can't metabolize the fish correctly, the sulfur correct. You can metabolize it better because you need that adrenaline.
Okay.
Okay, you're a very mellow kind of person, and then sometimes you'll get like woof, and then you're just like, but for the most part, you're pretty mellow, right?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter's you 100%.
She's so
look
lucky.
at it. It's like your
So
daughter.
lucky.
It's like your daughter is the polar opposite of
Yeah.
you. This is me and her.
Yeah. And the beef is for protein. The chicken, a lot of people give their kids chicken nowadays, right? Chicken. That's why, in my eyes, kids are so ADHD now. Because all that does is pushes on that methylation system, and it pushes on the adrenaline. So they're getting all these different diagnoses of ADHD, ADD, this and that. And it's because there's so much chicken. Lots of chicken. Grapefruit and grapes and nectarines, raisins, cranberries, elderberries, oranges, tangerines,
Pot, did you say?
gojis,
Did
and
you say that?
tangelos. What? What?
No, I
She thought you had
thought you
the
said
pot.
Pot?
I thought you said pot.
That's been years. Years. Actually, one conversation Doc and I were having years ago. I was like, what if I smoked pot? He goes, you would be a mess. He said, I would have to give you, his quote was, I would have to give you such a cocktail of supplements, I would be kind of messy. Yeah, and ironically, ask me when my first anxiety attack was. When I smoked pot.
That's, I was gonna say, you're reminding me of my friend
Yep.
who is very similar to you energy-wise, this, that, and the other, but if she's smoked pot, she called me, she goes, is this what your brain is like? Because, like,
Yeah.
overthinking, like, if I smoke it, I chill,
I know.
right? She's like, oh my god, it's 2 in the morning and I'm still thinking about
Oh,
this,
yeah.
that, and the other.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how chemicals,
Yeah.
Yep.
everybody's got a
Yeah.
different,
Yeah. So all of those are sulfury foods. And then you've got your veggies. Beet greens, I'd be insane on beet greens. High sulfur. Endive. Olives are a histamine, more of a histamine, so don't pound those down a lot. Red peppers, Swiss chard, that's all. Yeah, he's trying to taro, rutabaga, celery, green peppers, kale, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, okra. I'd be dead.
and it's funny because I wanna switch to a plant-based diet, he's gonna have blast with me when I
What?
tell him that.
Why?
I've got a lot of inflammation.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
hear
that's
you,
your histamine.
That's I had an allergist tell me I was allergic to myself, and somebody said that's because you're
Just by
not
looking at your
detoxing, and
face.
it's the histamine, you hear me?
Just looking at your face, you're red.
And even histamine,
You've
that
got-
you wouldn't think.
Yeah.
I always had that red,
Yeah, it's they call it rosacea, but it's really high histamine. My daughter walks around with, well, not so much anymore, but yeah, he's got your Brussels sprouts, cabbage, coleslaw, leeks. Yeah,
So I'm hypo, then it
I would say that, but
Mhm.
like I said,
I'll ask him when I make an
I
appointment.
this is what you've got some messed up adrenaline. That's what you have. Yeah, so you're all. He's got you on cashews for your glutamine, walnuts for your tyrosine, rice milk. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Let me see your program. See cobalamin, full spectrum minerals. That's all stuff. Yeah. So basically, he's for non-methyl. See, that's what's up. I have to ask him about that. Why is he giving you so much methyl, methionine, and sulfur? Maybe he's
And
giving
then-
you more sulfur actually than methionine. Interesting. I have to ask him about that. But yeah, mostly you're the
It's so cool, this information, I just,
yeah. So
can't
the
get
way
enough.
I eat biochemically. I don't eat. I love food. I mean, obviously, half my YouTube channel is about methylation foods. But I eat according to chemistry. You'll look at a plate and you'll say, oh, that's pretty green bean. Oh, that's a pretty piece of pork. Oh, that's some nice, pasta. And oh, that's a nice zucchini. Oh, that's a pretty apple. That's nice grapes. Nice blueberries. I'll look at it as, oh, that's glutamine. That's methionine. That's tyrosine. That's serine. That's aspartic. That's how I have to eat, and that is how I rule my life. I have my program just like she does, just like you do, and I eat that way, but after all these years, I'm able to say, I really am feeling a little like bummed out, a little down, so my glutamine might be a little high, might be a little low. So I'll eat some blueberries and I'll see how I feel. And then if it goes up, it's good. If not, I'll eat some aspartic. I'll eat, some pears, or I'll eat an apple. I'll eat some asparagus. If I am itchy, because I can get itchy, then I know he cheated a little too much. Like after 30 years, I could cheat. I could have some cheese. I could have here, But I know after a while, I can only do a certain amount because then I'll get a headache and I'll start getting itchy. if I'm very foggy, if I feel foggy because that's my methylation, or I'm hyperventilating and I'm just like not feeling great, a little bit on the OCD side, I'll eat more pork. And then I'll have a couple of spoons of coconut milk ice cream, because that shuts down, that's serine, the coconut is, and that shuts down my sulfur, and it makes me, you give me a bowl of coconut milk ice cream, within 20 minutes I will be passed out every single time. Literally every single time. When I get a headache, when I travel anywhere, you'll see it on there, I have a video. When I travel, I take a pint of Trader Joe's coconut milk ice cream with me everywhere I go. In my bag, I always have serine in my bag, because I need to keep my adrenaline at a certain level, or else I just don't feel well. I used to pop up out of my sleep because my histamines were so high, because I wasn't, my chemistry wasn't working correctly. What else do you need to know?
I have a question. I'm trying to remember everything. I was trying never to interrupt you.
Sorry.
No, I was like trying to remember all the things because I didn't want to mess up your flow. But one of the things you were talking about with your daughter being the opposite of you and having the bloating. So is it possible? Like my whole life, always lean. I could the same thing. I can eat a Hungry Man hero, but I wouldn't gain a pound. Right now, I'm in my 40s. Obviously, that's changed. It's 100% full belly. It's full belly. So, if you have your genetics from the minute you're born, is there something, if you're eating the same way, and now all of a sudden it's manifesting that way, is that just the hormone change, or something else going on with
Your
the
chemistry
methylation?
changes all the time. Your chemistry changes. Like I was saying, with me, my bilirubin was high for 25 years. My bilirubin was longer than that. My bilirubin was at 0.8.
Restroom.
Oh, please.
Sorry. It's okay.
Sneak on her thing. I'll show you.
Yeah, my bilirubin was at 0.8, and now the past maybe year, it's gone down. It's gone down to, I think it's 0.5 now. So your chemistry absolutely changes,
Okay.
and your body gets older.
Well, and that's what I mean. It's, for me personally, like obviously it's once you hit your 40s, well, for me, once I hit my 40s, that started changing. But foods that normally I never had an issue with, as soon as if I'm trying to stay away from the gluten, and now I have the rice pasta, it doesn't matter. It's still, which then I had found out from somebody, it could be tapioca starch. That could be working the same way as gluten. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because anytime I have a gluten-free substitute, I still get that. So then is it just a grain issue?
But it's
Anyways.
still histamine. All that is still histamine.
Right.
And histamine's a bloater. It's still a histamine.
Okay.
It'll still bloat you out.
So, Dr. Dulin, going to him, let's say, so I never had genetic testing, but I had my son do the 23andMe when he was like 5. Okay, because I was gonna say, I remember they took his numbers and they decoded it to find out the different things, which all made sense.
Yeah. It's not, I won't say it's bad, it's just not it's not as thorough as other ones.
Okay. So that would be the suggestion, is to go to him, have an initial appointment, and then do the extra testing, whatever you had said in the beginning, I forgot the name of that.
It was just genominal, he uses
Right.
that. He feels that is one of the best, there are others out there, but that's just the one that he enjoys using. He sits and reads thousands of pages, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying, there's so much data
Thousands.
that comes from it. And the other thing that I was thinking too, when you were saying like, you and your daughter both hypo and hyper,
Mhm.
both have anxiety, can you still have the methylation issues and not have anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, it just it presented in me and it presented in my daughter, but typically, I mean, with the hypermethylators that I know, and I know a bunch of them, lots of them, they all had some type of anxiety. It might not have been as severe, they might say, oh, well, I had body pain more so, or, I had bad heart palpitations more so. Like I'm working with, I teach meditation also, and I'm working with someone who's 22, and He has more heart palpitations more often than I did. You know, I mean, I had a rapid heartbeat, but sometimes it'll get so bad for him that it'll cause the anxiety. You know, it could present. You know, people could just have not an, you know, you have anxiety and then you have panic. I had both. Anxiety is you are anxious about this is going to happen, that's going to happen, but then you have panic, and that's like, oh, what's happening? What's that? Where am I? I couldn't even drive my car to Dr. Dulin's office once because I couldn't remember where I was going because I was having such a massive panic attack. So it presents differently. You can just think and perseverate over death. That was part of what I did. I persevered. I was going to die. I was going to die. I don't know what I was going to die of, but I was going to die of cancer. I was going to die of this. I was going to die of that. And that was my mind thinking. That was the lack of tyrosine because my neurotransmitters weren't firing well.
So you can have bouts of anxiety and bouts of panic. It doesn't have to be constant.
No, it could present as, like I said, it could present as body pain. It could present, you know, you could have lots of methylation issues, tons, and I happen to have most of them. You know, my friend in the book, she has Joubert syndrome, you know, and she's such a, we look similar in build. We also have very thin skin, no pun intended, literally thin skin, but she can't manage, because of her Joubert's, I believe, she can't manage tyrosine. I pop 369 tyrosine a day and I'll eat pork till the sun comes down. She will take a capsule of tyrosine and keep it by her bed because she dips, like that. She could be in bed for 5 days because with Joubert's, like I was saying, this way with me, with her, it goes up, down, and then that woman is down for days. She can't move, like she cannot move. The pain, she can't move. There's a video actually of her on my YouTube channel. So she'll go like this, and boing. That's how sensitive she is.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, it's so many different, you know, so many different ways and people, you know.
Now, is he, because obviously you have to have somebody that you go to be able to sit with and talk about all this stuff. Is he at the point where he's accepting new patients?
Mm-hmm.
Or, okay.
Yeah, no, he is.
Is in the office too, or just?
I think
on
he's
the
starting
phone?
to get people back into the office.
I'd love to sit with him.
Yeah. Have you met him, or just
No,
online?
I just had my phone. I just had 2 phone sessions with him.
Video phones or no?
No, just regular.
Oh, just on the phone.
Yeah. It was after. It was during COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, he's
August
not.
of 2020. I spoke to him.
He's a very. He's just a great person. He's one of my closest friends at this point. After, what am I gonna be 54? I went to him when I was 24. You know, and I learned a tremendous amount writing this book with him. Like I thought I knew a lot, but now I know even more. But I'm still not skilled enough to ever, you know, people ask me all the time online, you know, well, you know, how's this and what should I do? And I can't give people answers because I would be, it would be wrong if I did that. You know, I give my personal advice, my experiences, you know. But it saddens me because there are so many people out there, and this is why Doc and I wrote the book, to tell my story, because it was literally a miracle. Like I wear this ring every day because it says lucky. You know, it's literally a miracle that I'm alive. And it just, we wanted to tell people, you know, they're experiencing all these different symptoms, you know, all kinds of problems. And not saying that everything is methylation, but there's so many issues out there. And they could be methylation issues, and we wanted to share such a strange thing. And now, you know, methylation, MTHFR, it's everywhere. MTHFR, you know, here's my shirt, MTHFR, I'm a bad MTHFR, you know, and the genetics going, and there's, it's everywhere. And what happens is people are getting diagnosed with the MTHFR, and they think that it's just the MTHFR. And then these you know, there are doctors who are not really totally skilled, you know, in the biochemical manner, and they're giving, you know, a lot of methyl, because they see, ooh, you know, methylation, you know, methyl. If I went, they gave me methyl, I'd be dead. Been there, done that, you know? And I feel so bad for these people. There's so many people online that I talk to, and I'm like, oh my God, I just wanna take you and say, I can help you, go, you know?
I give his name out all the time. I'm on, like, I've recovered from a lot, and Facebook support groups have really helped me a lot. And so I belong to a lot of these, the MTHFR groups, and these people that are saying, oh, I'm taking this and that, and I don't feel good. I'm like, you know what? I give out his name all the time and his number. I'm like, they're like, well, can you explain? I'm like, no, let me do the explaining.
It's all about the book, read the
Yes,
book.
that's what I tell them. They give
Yeah.
the name of the book, and
I mean, the book literally, it explains methylation genetics incredibly, you know. My copy, you should see my copy. It looks like my
All
students.
marked up.
You know, it's all marked up. It's got, you know, Post-its sticking out everywhere.
my mother had paranoid schizophrenia,
Mm.
and my father had heart disease. My mother had the A, my father had the CT. I forget the whole number of things. But reading, I know that they were saying with the problem with the methylation it causes anxiety and stuff like that, but it could have caused her schizophrenia. You know,
Well-
she could have it could have been controlled, so she didn't have to say maybe go on medications, and
Yeah.
those medicines are terrible.
Yeah.
And my father with the heart disease, I feel that if he had his under control, his was in his 20s, he had the rapid heartbeat, he had angina all the time. My son is starting to go through that now. That's why, like, this is fascinating me, because I want my kids to know that you don't have, you can take care of it like ahead of time. If,
Yeah.
you know, instead of letting it get to the point where you're at 60 and you're going, well, you know,
Yeah.
now I'm on all these medications and stuff that you could have taken care of with.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
I mean, methylation is, it's so detailed, you know? Like tonight I hit on about that much, you know, and even when Doc was with me at the other author talk that I did, you know, he hit on about that much, you know, it's so detailed, it's such an amazing, it's such an amazing way to live. It sucks,
I feel it's
A lot.
awesome.
you know,
This is just fascinating information.
yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, Doc says I know more than I think I know, but I learn continuously from him. I could look at those diagrams, you know, I could look at, now I can't get the mouse up
Can't
here.
find-
Anyway, is it a touch screen?
I don't know, let's find out.
Nope. I could look at those charts 800 times. He's got big chart, the whole thing, the whole body's chemistry, not just that's. He's got the whole body's chemistry that he made on his wall, and I could look at that like that. Wait, where am I again? You know, but you know, living as a hypermethylator. My point is living as a hypermethylator is absolutely possible, because 30 years ago I was ready to check myself in because I was really losing it.
I went to doctors
Mhm.
time after time, and they all told me I was crazy.
Yeah, I was just, I
And
had
was
nervous,
like, this,
yeah.
like, you know, like this, I know it's not in my head, there's something not right.
Yeah.
Thank God now they have the science
Mhm.
to say, because I feel like going back to every one of the doctors going, see, it's not me, I'm not nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and you gotta think about it, people only know what they know.
Mhm.
So if certain doctors never look into that,
Yeah.
they only look into this, they believe in this, because that's what they researched and that's what they know. It doesn't mean the other stuff's not true.
Yeah, well,
You know?
that's like Doc said it when he and I were talking. He says, you know, I forget what he said. It's on that video that I posted. He said that, you know, one person. I'm just using another example because I don't remember what he said. It was, you know, this person is taught how to fix this car, and this person is taught how to fix this refrigerator, and this, you know. So it's not like doctors are wrong. That's just their wheelhouse.
Yep.
You know, and with Dr. Dulin, his wheelhouse, he's a chemist, that's what he is, he's a chemist. You know, he knows chemistry, plus he's just stupid smart, you know, like, you what? He's just so smart, and you put that together, and you just, you know, you get somebody who can treat people in a very different fashion. I'd be on piles of medication, I'm on piles of supplements,
That's,
you know, but,
yes, because
you know.
I couldn't detox medications either.
Yeah.
Made me so sick.
Yeah.
Actually-
Not deadly sick like you,
Mm.
but almost to the point where I was ready to take my own life sick.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. I mean, lavender, nope, can't do lavender, can't do chamomile, can't do mint, those are all methylators. I took my daughter to the lavender field, and I walked around like this, the whole time. You know, everyone puts, I went into one of my friend's offices one time, I still didn't tell her, and she had eucalyptus like firing through the diffuser thing, and I'm just sitting there, I love the smell of eucalyptus, like, oh, that smells so good. By the time I was out of there, it was like I drank an entire bottle of wine. I couldn't think, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I am
He's very sensitive.
crazy sensitive. I would tutor at somebody's house, this kid, I love this kid, and I would tutor at his house, and his mom would have the house smelling really good, and a couple times I would go in, like, it smells nice, but I can't, what it is, and every time I would leave, I would be like, high, and like, what is going on with me? I'd feel jittery. She was burning some form of sulfur soy candle or something like that. Yeah, I am a lightweight. So,
You are very interesting.
well, thank you.
You are very
Yeah,
interesting,
thank you,
and
thank you.
I enjoyed this. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm gonna
Good.
sit with I'm a hairdresser, and the only way I get my kids to open up is to have them sit in my chair, because then they're stuck there.
Yeah.
So
And you cut
that's
really slow.
that's it.
Yeah.
I call them whatever. They get
Yeah.
4 hours later. I'm like, well, did you I have them sitting there watching all these documentaries on Netflix about something. But anyway, I can't wait next time for her to sit in my chair, because that's what she's gonna watch. Because she should have been here
Do you have
tonight.
any questions? Anything else?
I'm sure I'm gonna think of things afterwards, because I'm just thinking about my child right now, and like even he says to me in the day, why do you think I wake up at the same time every day, 2 a.m.? And we already know he has some genetic stuff. Again, that I found out 6 years ago now. But I always think in Asian medicine, from because I'm a massage therapist, so when I was in school, we learned all about Eastern philosophy and the way the channels work and everything like that. So of course I'm thinking along the lines of what channel is disturbed and what emotion that's attached to, like that. But I'm very curious about this, of what he has been eating. I try the same thing with going gluten free, because he's very borderline celiac, borderline Crohn's. So I try to do, but if he's having too many grains anyway, it could be affecting him. And peppers he eats every day.
Peppers? What are his symptoms?
So he has the dark circles.
Okay.
So he's diagnosed EDD, ODD, very, very smart, but impulsivity to the max. And finally mellowing out, because I did neurofeedback with him for a year, and that was
Neurofeedback is
tremendous.
What did you do?
Neurofeedback.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get someone in here to do neurofeedback.
I think I told you I
We
did
talked about it, yeah.
neurofeedback for like, I don't know, months and months.
I
He
Trains the brain to fire differently.
Fantastic. Helped me focus, like, it was great.
Yeah, well, because you have different aspects of your brain.
Yeah.
And some parts are overactive while other ones are underactive. So he and I, because then as I'm taking him to the specialist, then I became fascinated. So I'm like, I want to do, it's called a QEEG, brain mapping, of how they measure what parts of the brain are firing. And we have both had very similar brains, except with the child, it manifests as impulsivity, short temper, anger. It takes a lot to get me angry, but I'm the overthinker. I'm the,
That's-
more of the
told you, your eyes.
emotional. Yeah, I'm the emotional one. Of
Hypermethylator also?
I don't know.
I mean, definitely sulfury.
Something, and especially right now, I feel like every single thing I'm putting in my body is not
Agreeing with you?
agreeing with me.
Oh, can I
Even
tell?
broth,
How old are you?
even 43.
What kind of broth though?
I did bone broth the other day.
Oh, but did you make it yourself?
No, I got the kettle fire one.
because they have a lot of celery, they have a lot of onion, they have a lot of garlic. Those are all,
Celery.
yeah, they're all methylators.
So, and
So-
onion, I do a lot with onions, I didn't know that. But these are the things that I'm saying, so with him, neurofeedback is like training the brain to fire differently.
Mhm.
So for him and for myself, it was that the theta brain waves, which is like your overthinking, was on 24/7. And alpha and delta were like, which is the part that goes, it is what it is, was not engaged at all. And for him, his prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that goes, that person just robbed my house, I want to go punch them, right? Or whatever it is. The prefrontal cortex is the part that goes, right, but don't do that because then you're gonna get in trouble. His is not engaged at all. Like, so taking the neurofeedback is training the brain, no, you need to work a little more and you need to shush a little more, different aspects of the brain.
It's awesome.
So that has
I love
helped
it.
tremendously, but even, we had a big weekend with a hockey tournament, and he's gonna be 11 next month. So we get a lot of 11-year-old boys. And at one point, I had 6 of them in my room, and everyone was disagreeing on what game they were playing, and my son is crying, just stop. And I was like, Logan, and he's like underneath a counter, hiding in the other room, and I had to explain to him, honey, you're getting overwhelmed. And he's like, I know. And I just had to tell them to take a break and hug him, and say, you're getting overwhelmed. And he's like, I just need them to stop. I go, so it sounds like it's too loud. It sounds like it's too, like, it's all sensory.
Sound is bad for me.
Yeah.
When my sulfur is cycling, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Just be
Right.
quiet. Don't talk. Just be quiet.
And with him, I should force him to be quiet.
Yeah.
And then I'm the worst parent in the world. I'm like, you just sit down for 5 minutes. And I go, but if you're a different person, you can come back from that little recharge. So I'm very interested
What
to
does he
find that.
eat?
Well, at his dad's house, it is always chicken nuggets every day. With me, we do, as far as like when I send him to school, I'll do turkey or ham, or I do the rice pasta with my fake butter, like the plant-based avocado or
Get
whatever.
smart balance.
That's what I get. But I
That's
use the
oil.
avocado.
That's
oil.
or the avocado oil. And
Yeah.
and give him rye bread. Give him or the Ezekiel bread.
You won't do Ezekiel.
So
I could try
get
the rye.
rye bread.
Yeah.
And turkey.
Yeah, he likes that, and like
Yeah.
I said, he does cucumbers. He does tomato. I don't know.
No more tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yeah, and
That's
tomatoes and
a
peppers.
history.
Like he'll eat that. He'll eat carrots. He does like vegetables. He just started liking salads. If I did a Greek salad, and I do, like the plant-based cheeses. I'm trying to do like a plant-based feta, but I don't know.
Try the
hash-
coconut instead.
Coconut what?
Coconut cheese.
I don't even know where to get that.
Yeah, they have the heck is the name of it? I'll text it to you. There's a coconut feta, there's a coconut mozzarella,
Oh yeah, let
there's
me know that.
almond cheese shreds at Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. I do that one.
Oh, I just had
But
the
I
name
didn't
of it
know
in my head. Oh, I just had the name of the cheese. I forget it again.
It's not follow your heart.
Nope.
Because that's the one that we have.
And watch for pea protein. Peas are no good. For people who are hypermethylators.
Oh.
Yeah, no peas. That'll fire your adrenaline.
Oh, that's in my protein shake.
You have chickpea pasta without the pea protein. Like Bonzo, I think it is.
Yeah.
They have pea protein in it. No
But even
bueno.
that bothers my belly.
And what?
That bothers my belly. The bonzo.
Because it's a bean.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, like trying different things, when you think you're trying to stay away from one thing and
Yeah.
trying another. So
Yeah.
it's really all this,
What about soba?
what is
Soba noodles? Have you ever tried soba?
No.
Try soba noodles. That might help.
Is that a Stop and Shop?
Soba.
No, I mean, like, where do you
Oh.
get that from? I'll look it up, I just didn't know if you know.
Yeah, you could get it online, like pure soba.
Okay.
I think Sherry's in Babylon. Maybe I'm sure Wild by Nature or Whole Foods.
Okay.
Soba noodles.
Okay.
What is soba noodles made from?
Soba.
Oh, is that soy?
No, I don't know.
Okay,
Um,
I'll look it up.
yeah. Also, what else? No rice for your son. I wouldn't even eat rice for you for your bloating.
That's what I'm saying, like everything,
Can I feel it? Is it bloated now?
Oh, yeah.
Is it like,
But what I had today was like beans.
see, that's so hard. That's like hard.
That's fine.
Energetically, I actually went to one of my medical intuitives. She's like, something's going on. You're completely blocked. I was
Yeah.
Like, oh, I happen to have a test coming up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. But
Yeah,
this
that's-
all, like I've always been
It could be your
120,
hormones, too.
120,
Could be
120,
your-
and now I'm 140. And I'm like, and this all happened this year. Like, well, now it's January. So last year.
My shows your age too, and the same thing. She's like, what the heck? It's like when she went 20 pounds, she's like, for what?
Mhm. Yeah, and
It's
listen,
gotta be
But that's
Hormones is
bloating.
bloated.
Like when you go through menopause, you know, I went through menopause at 36 because when you're you got methylation issues, you have really bad hormone issues. So I lost my period when I was 36. I went into menopause at 36, and you know, I was like, still, you know, kind of racked on my stomach. And then the past couple of years, I'm like, what is happening here? I never had phlegm ever on my stomach.
You don't look like you do.
No, but I do, and I said to Doc maybe like a month ago, I'm like, dude, you got to do something about this nonsense here. And he's like, brown fat. I'm like, now what's brown fat? You know, every time I go, now what? You know, he's like, brown fat. That's what happens when you go into menopause. Or when you're finished with menopause, you get, it's called brown fat. It's like the flabby crap that everyone's like, oh, here, take this, and you're fat. You have your menopause tummy. You're damn right I got menopause tummy, you know.
But Nancy, when I wake up tomorrow, this won't be this big.
But what?
When I wake up tomorrow, this won't be this big.
Yeah, you're bloated. That's not bloat. That's hard gas in there.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, but as far as what was eaten today, I had like my pints of like the 7 bean. I did like a 7
Beans
bean.
kill you.
But I feel better when I have it until now. Like this is the first time I'm like, freak. Anyways, sorry, I'm not trying to make this.
No,
No,
I'm
that's
just,
what
I'm
we're-
listening, it's fascinating, you know.
So all those
just-
things like trial and error. Okay, well let me not have that. Let me have more of this, and it's still.
You gotta go to doc.
I think it did.
Get your bloods done, and start with your bloods. You know,
Yeah.
see what he says about your bloods.
I did just get them all done, and the only thing, my RA factor is not good, but the rest of them looks pretty good.
You have them? Like, can I see?
Yeah.
I just want to see what your bilirubin is.
Let me see if they did my bilirubin.
If it was a CBC,
They did do a CBC.
Yeah.
Because I have the portal.
Yeah.
Of my insurance is through Northwell. So it's all on here. Oh, I just realized the time. I have to go in like 15 minutes.
I don't even know what time is it.
7:55.
Oh my God, it's almost 8 o'clock. Okay.
I know, when you want to get rid of me.
So look at it.
I'll look at your bloods and then I'll.
So if you scroll that way, you'll see everything just tested for like 2 months. Last month, 2 months ago.
So this is
Is
your
it in order?
salon? This is really nice.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
And good luck
much.
with it. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Massage and meditation.
We do a lot here. We do massage. I also do hypnotherapy.
What's that?
Hypnotherapy.
Okay.
We have acupuncture. We have pain management. We have a talk therapist here.
What type pain management? Not typical pain management.
So